So I says to Mabel, I says, welcome to the ham radio crash course for Friday. What is this, the 25th of May? Very, very good. We'll wait for everybody to find their seats. Come sit towards the front of the class, children. We're talking about Morse code and CW, which they're slightly different things, and we're going to clarify that point. What you're listening to, by the way, the bands are alive right now. The propagation on the bands, not great, but population and people talking seems to replace all things propagation related, because once people start talking, you get more activity, boom, Bob's your uncle, and all of a sudden it doesn't really matter how bad or good the bands are. What's up, everybody? This is Hashnasi. We are, so I was told we were doing our little pre-chat chat before on Discord, and it sounds like there's people on Parks on the Air, which is kind of like Soda, except you go to a park. And there's a website, parksontheair.com. Greetings from subtropical storm Florida. Oh, man. Must be hard being a motorcycle rider in Florida, right, Tom? You have to deal with crazy rain and weather. California is not so much of a problem with that. Southern California, parts of California. Oh, man. All right, so we're talking CW today, but before that, of course, we've got, you know, our notes that we're going to go through, all the fun stuff that we've been doing. And I lost the chat there. I want to make sure I'm catching everybody as they come in. What's up, K4YDV? How's it going? And so all that noise you're hearing in the background is obviously Morse code. And Jason says, hey, trying my first stab at FT8 tonight. Awesome. I will try and work when we do. So again, Zach, he's in the chat. He'll post a Discord link shortly. We do a Discord chat after we do the live stream. Discord's a part of the Ham Radio Crash Course. And I will be doing FT8 with everybody while we're doing the chat. So anyway, moving forward with Ham Radio, as always, we're learning more. We're growing our knowledge, our understanding. And we're going to get better with radio over time. That's the whole point of all of this, and this is just one more step. So, bit different from the general study stuff that we've been doing. We're going to focus today on Morse code and CW. I've talked a lot about why someone might want to learn Morse code in the past. We're going to dive into that a bit deeper, and then we're going to talk about how I learned Morse code. Still lots to go. Gotta just do way more. Wicked Perfect. Oh man, he says, greetings from Redondo Beach with Christine. So want to say, tomorrow the Redondo Beach W6 TRW swap meet is going on. The link is in the description. I believe I put that there. I will be there. There's a couple people that are going. They're gonna try and get their ticket. Their technician, possibly the general, possibly some extras. We don't know who's coming out, but if you're in the area, come on down. K4YDV Dan Ford says, hello, what's up? Oh man, Blake has got two people there with him. K1BAH and KN4KU, or YKU, sorry about that. Yeah. Oh yeah, thanks for the thumbs up, everybody, too. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's want to mention moving forward with Ham Radio, of course. Tomorrow, the swap meet. Make sure you get out for that. I am not drinking a beer. I'm still doing that no drink month. Today, though, is the last live stream where I will not be drinking. I'll have a frosty beer next Friday, and I'm very excited about that. Now, want to make a shout out for that too. Next month, all the videos except for so we're gonna still do the general. But the next crash course is going to be Patreon pick. So I'm going to post some comments on Patreon, and then we're going to do a topic based off of what they pick. But all next month is going to be focused on getting ready for field day. So I've got a lot planned for field day, as I've been mentioning. I will be doing at least a 12-hour stream for field day. I would like to go all night long. We'll see. But yeah. Ooh, somebody's tuning up. That's what that sound is. Hopefully somebody's tuning up, or they're trying to jam. See, because if we get off of there, they fall away. You can see there's just a lot of activity on CW right now. Very good. All right, got a couple more QSL cards. Where did those guys go? Are they here? Yeah, a couple more QSL cards came in the mail that we've been working. So awesome if you get those. If you work me somewhere, send them to me. I'll send you one back. And okay, so without further, that's a nice signal. That's a real good signal. Very good signal. So yeah, Zach just posted the link for the crash course. It's up above on Discord. There's already people over there chatting, voice chat and text chat. You're welcome to check that out. All right, so CW, Morse code. What's it all about? Let's dive into it, shall we? Hey, what's up, Carrie? Carrie's here. Awesome. ID 513128. Good morning. Sounds like a robot. Good morning. All right, so Morse code. Let's do a brief background on what Morse code is. So Morse code is a representation of letters. It's using usually tones to do it, but you could use a flashlight. You could use just a stick up and down and, you know, whatever movement. You could use your eyes, and we'll talk about that in a bit too. It was developed in 1836 by Samuel Morse, and the story goes he was away on travel doing a painting because he was an artist, and he got a message that his wife was fallen ill and was taken to hospital. And by the time he packed everything up to go to be with his wife, he got another message saying that she had passed away, and by the time he got back home, she had already been buried. So because of his grief that he felt, he developed the telegraph along with two other individuals. Now, the Morse code we use today, which is there on the right-hand side, is International Morse code. It's not the same as they used Samuel Morse when he came up with it and when he worked with others and they created different versions of it. But the idea is pretty simple. You're going to use, in fact, let me turn this back on and go to another. Oh man, it's just, you can't go anywhere right now. Let me turn off my break-in. There we go. Okay, never mind. You can't really hear my key. Okay, that'll work. We'll use this. So this is a practice oscillator. MFJ makes this guy. It's a straight key with a speaker. When needed, I will use that because you can't hear my actual key connected to the radio. So hopefully this works. Okay, so dits and daws, right? That's the idea. You learn to take those internally into your head and do some kind of internal conversion, and bam, there's your letters. Okay, so that's Morse code in a nutshell. So just a couple of famous use cases. This is Admiral Jeremiah Denton. He was captured during Vietnam. He was held for a very long time. I think it was 8 years. And he was recorded. You know, they wanted him to confess, you know, all the things that the Viet Cong did at the time. And he used his eyes to transmit the word torture via Morse code. So that's one interesting use. The Titanic, of course, they issued an SOS from their telegraph. I believe they recovered the key that transmitted that SOS, which is pretty cool. And I really like this story. You can look this up on Google. Marconi, right? Marconi was demonstrating how telegraphs work and how they could be used. And a magician sent rats, R-A-T-S, via telegraph during the demonstration, making him the first ever RF radio hacker / the first ever lid, as we call them. And lids, of course, are people who jam or are real jerks on ham radio. So that was the first lid, basically. I think that's hilarious. Ron says, taking my test June. I also been using SDR and have a Baofeng UV5RA. So that's another good point. We will be doing an SDR live stream in the future. I'm very excited about that. SDR is very fun. And I think it's kind of the next wave of things to come. Like Baofengs aren't going anywhere, but I think there's going to be a lot to talk about with SDRs, and they're very cool. So I'm talking about all this old stuff, right? Why are people still using Morse code? Why mess with this dying mode? That's a thing people say all the time. People still use that? That's exactly what I hear all the time. So Morse code is not dead. It has not been dead ever. It's never went away and then came back. It's been in constant use. People have been using it since its origination in whatever form, whatever machination existed at that time. It's not dead. CW, Morse code, is very... Oh, and let me clarify that. CW is continuous wave. It's the modulation and the turning. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's just the sine wave. We talked about this when we were talking about parts of the radio for the general discussion. It's just closing the circuit and transmitting that continuous wave, that whatever the oscillator's at, that sine wave that it's generating. That's continuous wave. Before that, they had telegraphs, and before that, they had spark gaps, which was literally and spark gaps blasted RF all over the frequency band. So we've gotten to the point now where we're really precise with how we use Morse code. We use CW to transmit Morse code, and it takes up a very tiny bandwidth. These are things I've talked about. It's very active in DX. In fact, a lot of those people that are talking right now that we've been listening to, pretty far away. They're generally going to be farther away with CW, and you're going to have a better chance of picking up DX with CW than just about any other mode, aside from some of the digital modes that are popular right now, FT8 being one of them. FT8 is stupid popular. Stupid popular. If you want to know anything about FT8, go check out the digital introduction to FT8 that I did. It was a live stream a couple months ago. It's in the Ham Radio Crash Course playlist, and I'll make sure I add that to the description for those that are watching after the fact. Ooh, excuse me. People still use it in soda. WG0AT, WGOAT, very popular on YouTube. He's primarily a CW guy. He uses a mountain topper, a small radio that works off of 9-volt batteries, and AA, AAA batteries can work off just about anything. Very popular. Jill, or Gil, I'm not pronouncing it the way he pronounces it. He's French. He's also known as the Radio Prepper on YouTube. He also has mountain toppers, pretty good on CW. Talks a lot about CW and how he thinks it's the best go-to emergency mode that you can learn for radio. And as an individual, I don't really disagree with him. I really like CW. And then QRP in general. QRP radios, you know, you've seen my MFJ 9200, which I actually picked up at the W6 TRW swap meet probably about a year ago, maybe. You know, little small, portable, works off of a couple internal batteries, right? CW, right there. Cut yourself a little wire to match, have a ground radial, and you're good to go. I've got it balancing on top of the radio. It almost fell. So CW, why is it better? Well, you've got the smaller bandwidth, which we said, much lower bandwidth. It's generally considered that CW has a 2S units power, signal quality, over that of single sideband. So if you heard somebody as an S9 on CW, they would be an S7 in single sideband. What's more likely is that you've got some DX coming in and they're like an S5 on CW, but they're an S3 on single sideband, which is in most cases barely making it above the noise level, right? So CW is very, very good at getting your signal out there. It's very good at DX, and last bullet, it's understandable at the noise level. So worst case scenario, you're barely making a station. You don't have to understand the subtleties of human voice with CW. It's either the tone is there or the tone is gone. That's it. So if you can master it, not even master it, if you can get to the point that you're confident enough to go out there and try it, and actually getting on the air and using it is going to make it, you're going to be much more effective if you go out there and start doing it that way. Okay, so what was the question somebody asked? Oh yeah, Justin Moyer says Radio Prepper is a great channel. I agree. Lots of chats going on right now. Gordon Westbrook, yes. Okay. All right. So why mess with this dying mode? Continue. It's good out of low power radios. So a lot of people working on a budget, a lot of people, young people, looking that they're playing with SDRs, they're getting experience on using radio, and they want to, or they're thinking about getting something that transmits. Maybe they're going from their HT and they want to step into HF. I've said, and many people echo the statement, that QRP is not the best way to enter into HF. I agree with that. I didn't follow that. I used QRP. But I wasn't heartbroken that I wasn't making a lot of voice contacts because it's difficult. CW doesn't have that same problem. CW is very effective in low power. Low power CW is is fine. Like I was saying, the Mountain Topper works off of 9-volt battery. I mean, jokingly, I'm just joking, but this is, you know, little QRP transmitter, right? This little pocket-sized thing. It runs off a 9-volt. It has a very low power output, but this would still be effective in some cases, believe it or not, even though I think it's like half a watt output. But remember, a lot of these QRP radios don't go above 5 watts. So, now, another thing that's good is, obviously I mentioned Gill Radio Prepper, but it's great for emergency preps, right? So if you were in a situation that you had to, you know, everybody uses the term bug out. We should probably do a longer freeform crash course video just on a stream, just on preps, including ham radio, right? Because most ham radio equipment is heavy. Most ham radio equipment is really heavy. So the ability to have something that's very small, you know, very small radio, you know, not much bigger than your hand here, that I bought for $100, right? And every bit effective on 20, 40, or whatever band modules you put in here, with a lot of CW transceivers. It's very useful to have. Very useful to have. It's kind of fun too. I don't know. There's a kind of a weird, if you've got the mindset for it, there's kind of a weird thing of, you know, throwing a wire over a tree. You're out camping and you set up a radio and you just kind of like listen, right? Just receive people, do a little talking. Yeah, it would be. It's a lot of fun that way. So, you know, think about that as far as it goes. So now we're talking about learning CW. So hopefully we planted the seed in your brain, like you want to think about learning CW. You could go fast in learning CW and try really hard and really focus, and that's very effective. You can go slow, but no matter what you do, you can't shortcut it. You can't trick yourself. There's no hack. There's no way to accidentally learn CW. It takes determined and thoughtful practice to do it. So it's like learning any foreign language. It really is. People have compared it to being not just a player of an instrument, but an actual musician. And of course, they've compared it to learning a language. And that's true. So what are some ways to do it, or how specifically have I done it? So there's a couple of things, and I've posted the links in the description. The first is this nice little PDF book. It's called Zen and the Art of Radio Telegraphy. I recommend you get it and you read it. There is instructions within that manual that explains what that individual did, or what they recommend. They recommend an app to download. That's a Windows-based app, so it's not going to work for Linux and Windows people. And that's generally okay, because you can use what's called LearnCWOnline.net, LCWO.net. And you can generally modify LearnCW.net to work with what Zen and the Art of Radio Telegraphy recommends. Now, there's also the Koch method, and there's Farnsworth. Those are two separate ways to learn CW, but they complement each other. The telegraphy way, the Zen and the Art of Radio Telegraphy, does not exactly complement Koch, and there's another way I'm going to show you that doesn't really complement the telegraphy method either, but there's no reason you can't use all in combination, and I'll explain a little bit on that as we go further on. Big point here, and this is probably the biggest point to learn CW. You can't learn it slowly. Once upon a time, we had in the United States and other countries, I believe the UK is abandoning this as well, the CW requirement. You were required to learn 5 words a minute CW. The problem with that is when the code is slow, when the characters are slow, hey, what's up, Hunter? And the spacing of the characters is wide and long, you will hear a dit and a daw, and you will run it into your mental lookup table in your brain, and you'll say, dit, daw, that's an A. That's wrong. You don't want that. You want to make it so that you hear dit-daw, 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 and it just unconsciously means A. It comes in as a dit-daw, and you immediately muscle memory it almost into being A. just like learning a second language, right? Just the way you would do that. You don't want an internal lookup table. Because once you start to have an internal lookup table and you begin to be proficient at 5 words a minute with an internal lookup table, it's extremely difficult to progress to faster words per minute. The reason is that about 9 words per minute, 10 words per minute, your brain cannot keep up. It cannot convert the speed of those characters into, through the lookup table, process it, and then have A come out and go into your, cerebral cortex. You have to learn it very quickly and at least at 15 words a minute. That's not that big a deal. Don't panic. There's ways to learn it. And Koch method is a good way. Farnsworth helps the Koch method be more effective. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Learning to copy, listening to people, going back to here. Learning to copy that is much harder than learning to type out letters. That's easy because I know what I want to say. So all I'm doing is just putting it through my I want to say rare. Or you could just totally flub it as I'm doing right now because I'm getting nervous. But if you know the word you want to say, then it really just becomes you're telling your hand to do the motion of whatever you want it to come out with, right? So you already know the answer. You've already decoded it. You're encoding now. The decoding, the receiving of CW, that's the hardest part about learning CW. At least it is for me, and that's what a lot of other people say. So focus on the copying of characters. Focus on random characters. Focus on anything you can do that will make the decoding more useful, more proficient. And the decoding is harder to do because if you're learning to key things, you can just do that at everyday things. You can look at a postcard, or you can look at an Altoids tin, and you go, oh, okay, it's an Altoid. Right? Altoids, okay? That's not hard to do once you know the characters to transmit them. But to decode them in your head after hearing them is much harder, right? So keep that in mind. Learning to copy is always harder than transmitting. So the more you can do learning to copy, the better. On the right side of the screen, the picture that says code groups, code group 1 minute, that's learning CW online. Al W's right. Learning to transmit is no cakewalk after learning to receive. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that learning to receive is hard. Now, here's another note with learning to receive. Let's say you've got a tablet and you're writing down the characters that you're picking up. You're not picking up all of them. And that's not that bad because you're still using English words. So you can go back over and even the shorthand that they use, Q codes and shortcuts. You still know it because you're like, oh, okay, I know what he meant. Here's a whole sentence or part of a sentence. I know what he meant or she meant. The problem is like when you get a call sign. Call signs are random. Call signs are often 2 characters, a number, and then 3 characters. Or 2, a number, and then 2. Totally random. You can't fake that. You either can copy or you can't. And that's exactly what you need to copy because that's what you need to make your contact, right? Yeah, Carrie, exactly. It is like learning a second language. It really is. So, okay. Learning, I will show you what learning CW online looks like. All right, so this is the Koch method. The Koch method and there's a lot of ways to do the Koch method. There's an iOS app called Ham Morse. That's one way. One of the links in the description is another way. But in its core, the Koch method is basically you play 2 characters. I think the first 2 characters in the online link that I give is a T and an E, right? So good place to start. The smallest characters, a dit is an E, and a T is a da. So you start learning that. You learn that at 15 to 20 words per minute. You master the E and the T. And then you add another character. And I think the next character to add is a K. K. Da 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 da. And that's the point. That sound. Da 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 da. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that cadence. It has a feeling to it. It has a K feeling. And when you hear it over and over again and you build that memory, you get to feel that character. You don't have to think about it. You just hear, oh. I was just trying to do CQ. This thing's not very good, by the way. I beat on this thing so hard that this thing's starting to... It's all messed up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's an MFJ product, so you may know there's some thoughts to be had on that. And the concept's pretty simple. You learn 2. Once you master 2, you add a 3rd. Once you master the 3rd, you add a 4th. And you keep going until you've mastered all of them. Okay? That's the Koch method in a nutshell. Farnsworth method is introducing line spacing and character spacing in between the characters. So you learn them at full speed, the character, but you pad it with some space in the middle. That helps a lot of people learn, but it doesn't let you build that internal mental table because you're still learning it at a high speed. You can't put too much of a space, otherwise you go back to having a lookup table again. Okay, so that's Farnsworth. And there are apps and systems that use Farnsworth. LCWO uses Farnsworth, and it can use Koch depending on how you want to do it. They've got a couple of different ways to learn code, which is nice. So my hybrid method was I signed up for a CW Ops class, and it's cwops.org, cwacademy.html. I highly recommend you do this. If you really want to learn CW, go take the CW Ops class. It's 2 months long, and you meet, I think, once a week, but there's a lot of practicing. So note on practicing. The best way to learn CW is multiple 10-minute long practice sessions throughout the day. 3 to 4, for example. And CW Ops recommends this as well. So with the CW Ops class, the one I did, it used this morsecode.scphillips.com/trainer.html. Again, the link's in the description. And what it is, and let me show you right now. I will talk about that too, Al. I don't recommend people learning to mess around with decoding software. Okay, we'll talk about that. So if we go all the way to session 1, hopefully, there you go. Hopefully you're hearing T. You're hearing T 5 times. Okay. So the instructor of the class would basically go through these characters. Okay. And it was great because you just sit there and listen. You don't look at the screen. You can't see it, right? They're doing what they're doing. And you just listen. And so you start to build A. Ooh. Oh man, whatever I did just took my key out of whack. I totally gapped it. Right? Da-da, da-da. And so you go through this whole thing, and there's tons and tons of classes, and you basically work your way through all these da-dit-da-da, da-dit-da-da, T. A spot of tea. So you basically use this to learn the tones, right? Now it's nice because the instructor is playing these words. You're not looking ahead. You're just hearing it. You're just taking it in. Doing this on your own is not that helpful. It's nice as a good reminder of like what the tones sound like, but you're clicking it. You know that it's gonna spell out T. It's a T, an E, and an A. You know what that looks like. Again, you want that random copy. So if you can, if you can't get up on CW Ops, and understand CW Ops is only 3 times a year, and it's very booked. I believe Jerry, KG6HQD, signed up, and I don't think he's until September or something like that, possibly later. So what works is if you have a friend, a family member, loved one, whatever, in front of the website and has the headphones in your ear or speakers or whatever, and they play the tones and you practice randomly copying. That's very good. That's helpful, right? Of course, you got to know the tones somewhat, so you kind of have to go through some of the class, but this allows them to kind of like flip through. So tat, you know, tit for tat. they can hop around clicking through these buttons, and they can show you how, and then they can pick randomly, which is good. It keeps you on your toes, and that on the toes feeling is how you experience learning. I always feel like when I have a bit of stress and I'm like lagging behind a little bit, and I can feel that pressure, like that's where I learn the best. So the way and how I get that pressure is by using the Zen manual. So going back to Zen and the art of radiotelegraphy, I use the Zen method with the lcwo.net tools. And I'll show you what that looks like. So the book, Zen and the Art of Radiotelegraphy, which is right here, they have a really simple approach to it. It's 100 pages. They got way more than just that, but pretty simple approach. It recommends that you learn over the course of 6 weeks, most of the characters. And the way you do it is by loading them in code groups. So the E, the T, the A, the N, the I, and the M. Okay? Just like that. That's the first week. And so what you do is you go here to this LCWO, which is free to join. You can join LCWO. And you go to code groups, right? We're on the code groups page. This is what it looks like. It's saying 20 words per minute effective speed, and then I have a gap that's effective speed of 5 words per minute. So the characters are full speed, but there's a gap. And I normally have a more high effective speed because I don't have a gap in there, but I put it in there so it'd be easier to hear. So you go in here and you click change, and here's where you type in the code group. So there's a T, an M on the right hand side, an I, an E, an N, and an A. And you say I want 20, and I want my effective speed to be 5, and that's it, right? So then you go back, and I can't really hear it, but so now what you do, go back to code groups. Oh, Medic Joe, take it easy, buddy. Get some rest. So now you're in code groups. There's this little window on the left-hand side. This is your pad of paper, but you're going to use your keyboard. So if you're not a good typist, this could get a little tricky. But you basically start this player off. Go, buddy. There you go. That's a V. Those are V's. Okay? And then you're going to copy the tones. I didn't get that last one. Did I? What was that? What did I have it set to? Oh, I don't remember. Now I lost the end there. Okay, so I lost the end part there, but then you go check results, and it'll tell you how many you screwed up on. So at the end, I missed 4, and I miffed 3 in the beginning, but I was pretty good through the whole thing. So if I had straightened out those 4 in the end, I would have been probably a 10% error rate. Now, you just do this over and over again. Right? You just keep going, and they'll keep randoming the characters, and to the point that you get below the 10%, you just keep doing that over and over again. I'm a little stressed when you do this. You put yourself in your happy space, you take some deep healing breaths, and then you start going through it. When you do it that way, you get really, really good at copying because you're going to be hearing it, and it's going to have to bypass. You can't get in that lookup table because you got to type it. It gives you that stress, and you start putting the little folds in your brain. So this is a recommended way. This is the way I did it, LCWO, and I've gotten through all the code groups. I'm working on numbers. But numbers have a system to learn. Not good to know them by a system. You should know them by just the sounds they make, right? So this is just something you go through again and again and again and again. And 6 weeks, right? That's what they recommend. So you're going to be testing with this, not testing, but you're going to be using it to practice multiple times a day. Keep it to about 10 minutes per go. That's what science has found is the most effective way to go about it. Thanks, True Town Mofo, for retweeting. And so, yeah. Now, going back to Zen and the Art here, see how the E, the T, the A, and I and M are all the two dits and DAWs numbers, letters. Sorry, all of the D, the S, the O, the U, the R, and the C. All of those are 3s, except for the C is 4. The K, the P, the K is 3, P is 4, B is 4, G is 3, W is 3, L is 4, Q, H, F, and Y are all 4, and Z, V, X, and J are all 4. And then numbers are 5, so meaning 5 dits or DAWs. Okay? So they progressively get harder, if you will, for some people. I find that the longer the character in dits and DAWs, the easier it is for me to remember for some reason, because it maybe gives me more time to jog my memory or whatever when I hear it. Again, no lookup table. You're not counting dits and DAWs. You're just like, oh, that's an L, okay? Right? That's one problem is straight keys. We'll talk about that. Take it easy, Hunter. So it says right there, each week your goal is to learn a new set of letters. At the end of the week, you should be able to decode 25 groups of 5 characters, writing down what you received by pen and paper. You could do that the way that this recommends. There's an app. I didn't do that. I used the LCW online because I can just type it, and I'm better at typing than writing. And I can do way more. I can do a ton. I can just keep going, and it shows me what I screwed up, what I did wrong. It makes it very easy, and it tracks how I did, how I'm progressing, etc. Okay. All right. Moving on. Okay, so tips and tricks. So here's our little things you can do, and I love this so much. I love this so much. I realized it after I put this picture up. So that's a screenshot. That's a screenshot of the Ham Morse iPhone app. It's Ham Morse, all one word, iPhone app, and you can have it play you headlines from newspapers. And I was having it play me the BBC Worldwide News, and it says, British men increasingly targeted by sextortion. I love it. I screenshot that, just cracked me up. I was like, oh, that's going on. We have to put that on the crash course. I laugh so hard. So there's an old-timey video on this first bullet here. Focus on the tone and cadence of characters. There's an old-timey military video on YouTube. I'm not a big fan of this, and I don't want you guys to fall in line with thinking this is the way to go, because don't. But what it does is right, and it's telling you to focus on the cadence and the special nuances of the characters, because once you can learn those, you'll have a much easier time learning the characters. They'll become easy. They'll become its own muscle memory, like this, the way TH sounds when it's in words, stuff like that. It'll start to become second nature, and that's what you're looking for. You want to get that second nature. So focusing on, if you use, going back to this this Morse code trainer. Let me get a better character. R's a good one because R has a kind of different sound. Listen to R. It's like a did-aw-dit, 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 right? It's a dit, a daw, and a dit, a daw, and a dit, and it has you can feel the inflection in the beginning of it. R's are incredibly easy to pick out for me. Some people always have like a character they're good at, some others. And man, that screenshot is hilarious, man. Trump and Kim, an on-off bromance. Just so ridiculous. I love the BBC, man. Their headlines are ridiculous. Jim from Tucson, JP Tucson AZ says, John here from Tucson. As we are talking, sending signals here, especially on the beginning of Memorial Day weekend, I wanted to shout out an honor to all the military members. Yes, sir. Yes, very good call out. So we are heading into Memorial Day. I've got a 4-day weekend. I had Friday off, and I'm obviously going to be off Monday. And I'll be going again to the swap meet this Saturday, Redondo Beach at the old TRW plant. The link is in the description for W6TRW. But good shout out to all the vets. And have a happy, safe Memorial Day, everybody. Don't be dumping a whole gallon of lighter fluid in the barbecue. Anyway, so like R, what's a good one? L's got a great cadence too. Did-aw-did it. Did-aw-did it. Did-aw-did it. Right? It's got like a... It's not a vibrato. What's the crescendo? It's almost like a crescendo in music theory. Okay, so let's go back. Hopefully you heard that, right? Was I just playing that to myself like an idiot? Oh, of course you can hear it. Okay, good. So that's an L. All right, where's my slides? All right. Like I just said, L. Did-it should always have that characteristic uptick and then the quick dits. So it's easy to pick out the difference between an R. Oh, I hate this key. And then an L. We're going to talk about keys in a second, too. Dylan says, I'm very much a hands-on learner, also just got the stream. Are there any good Windows or Android apps I can use to just learn the letters and test to do it? Well, there's no tests. You're doing this for you. You're learning this. You're doing this to learn how to use CW because it is a valuable, important skill that you can add in your repertoire. Yes, all the links in the description are websites that you can access right now, regardless of what computer you're on. If it's your computer or anybody else's computer, you can use it. Learn CW online, you make an account, it's free, and you can just use it, right? Use it. And then the Zen and the Art of Radio Telegraphy, 100-page book, I recommend it. Page, let me get that page so you can jump to it exactly. Page 15 is where they break down the code groups that you want to put into learncwonline.net. Hello from Puerto Rico. See, Puerto Rico knows why you should learn CW, man. CW in a country that's having major weather problems, very important, very good. JP Tucson has a further comment on Memorial Day. Veterans who bravely served those in the Signal Corps, as was my father. Oh, wait. Did I miss... Did you have another... Hold on. Let me go back. I want to make sure I did. Did I miss anything? No. I want to make sure I didn't cut you off there. Yeah. As my father, who would have celebrated his 100th birthday today, printer by trade, early CBer when licenses were needed for that. Right on. Tom says, when selecting a vanity call sign, are there certain letters or numbers that are best avoided to make CW easier? That's a good question. Yeah, some people have a hard time with any of the 4-letter characters in a call sign can be tough. So Q, H, Z, X. Well, here, I'll read them out. P, B. B could be tough because it's a DAW and then 3 dits. Wait. Right? So that could just run into another character. Q, H, F, Y, J. J is DIT and then 3 DAWs. That's a tough one. Wouldn't avoid a lot of those. Good ones are E, T, A, N, I, and M. E, T, A, I, N, and M. And then D, S, O, U, R, C are good too. Those are 3 dits and DAWs though. I'm fixing when selecting it. Yeah, okay, got it, good. Making sure I'm getting everybody in their questions. Oh, there was my floating chat window. I wonder what happened there. Okay, back to it. So Ham Morse is on iOS. I don't use Android, but I'm assuming they have one that is just as useful as Ham Morse. So please go find whichever good. I would avoid, again, don't worry about transmitting right now. Just learn the characters. Just learn the copy and try to do it conversationally. It's true if you learn LCW online, lcwo.net, you're going to have to copy with the keyboard, but that doesn't mean you can also not just do copy and conversational copy, meaning you're just copying in your head. You're just remembering, oh, that was an L and an O. Oh, it's a W. They said low. Okay, good. You know, that's a conversational copy. You don't need to write that down. Somebody has a Baofan question in the chat. We'll take your Baofan question live right now, Medic Joe. Also, Hosh, before I leave on my BFF8HP, a recommended radio, am I able to program an 8-number frequency? Because it does not let me in Springfield, Mass. It's an 8-number frequency. Yeah, I don't know what in Springfield, Mass means. Do you mean for like an emergency? For like an emergency channel? I would just use chirp. Truth Telling Mofo says he's got to clock it in. All right, buddy, take it easy. For you guys on the East Coast, I understand. I'm sorry these are a little bit later for you, but yep, that's ID 513128. The robot in the chat says Thai general class need to pass sending Morse code. Ooh, man. Also, I'm not a robot. Hey, that's just what a robot would say. That's exactly what a robot would say, that they're not a robot. Dan Ayers says my original novice call sign was WN8QCQ. And it was a problem on CW because I would be on a contact and others' hams would think I was calling CQ. Yes, that sounds like a nightmare because you have Q, then C, then Q. Wow, that's bad. Sorry, man. Okay, so you can always just turn the radio on and just copy QSOs. Like I said, call signs are random. You don't know what you're going to get. And so the ability to just be able to copy that random call sign is really good. So, hey, just focus on that. But, and there's a caveat to doing it live on the air, be careful for bad code. People who just don't really know the code that well. They don't form their characters that well. Copying off the radio is something you might want to wait a little bit until after you've gotten through some of those the courses on that first website and then some of the code groups on LCWO. There's a website to check a call CW weight. Google CW weight to get a good vanity. Awesome. Very good tip from Michael Brydak. Hope I said that right. Excellent. I love that. Okay. So, last but not least, I think this is the last slide. Straight key or iambic or single paddle. And those are literally my two keys. I have more, but those are the two I use the most. So the one on the left is a straight key. That's a SpeedX key. That's the one that's currently attached to my 7300. And the one on the right-hand side is a paddle made by the American Morse Equipment Company. I believe that's called a Porta key. And the iambic paddles are just the way people go. They end up just kind of gravitating towards it. There are the Straight Key Society, which has a net, and they have an event every year for doing straight key. There's no reason you can't learn both, but generally most people evolve to an iambic paddle. Now, a single paddle is similar to an iambic, except that there's just a single paddle, and you got to go back and forth, left and right. Now, key point here, I don't have this hooked up, and I don't want to mess with the 7300 right now. I thought I had that configured correctly to do it, but I apparently don't. I wanted to use it to just monitor. I wanted to just make code and not have it transmit, but I don't have it set apparently correctly, and I can't get the volume correct. But anyway, so, oh boy, sorry, green screen. You know what? Let's do it a different way. So here's the iambic paddle, okay? Your DAWs are on the right paddle, and your DITs are on the left paddle. You can switch that depending on if you're left or right-handed. But what happens is this gets connected to a keyer, right? And there's very low tolerances. This is very tight, very little gap here. But what happens is the keyer is basically going to continue to play DAWs and DITs as you hold down the left or right paddle. So if you needed to do a B, like I mentioned, you would hit the right paddle momentarily and then hold down the left paddle until it gave you the 3 DITs you needed. So DAW, DIT, 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 3 DITs. And then you let it go. So that's the advantage of an iambic paddle. With a straight key, you have to crank out all the DAWs and all the DITs. An iambic allows you to save some motion by holding the paddle down, which is helpful. Stefan, it says, why not get up at 4 in the morning to learn Morse code with Hosh? Good morning. Oh, man, where are you at? Tell us what your QTH is. W1AW is a good source to learn clean CW, and it's also an Echolink. There you go. Very good. That's also a good recommendation. So we've got lots of good recommendations in the chat, everybody. There's also really good recommendations on the Ham Radio Crash Course on Facebook and, of course, the Discord. A lot of people there, so make sure you check that out, too. But wanted to say that. Very good. I love that CW weight thing. Very, very good. Very good tip. So can you do some repeater contacts? Oh, I'm not sure what. Oh, I will mention this really quickly, too. So when we're talking about Morse code and CW specifically, CW is the mode the radio is operating in, much like single sideband, much like FM on your HTs, your mobiles. Your for VHF, UHF. You're not actually transmitting CW if you're sending tones over VHF, UHF via FM. They make single sideband transceivers for VHF, UHF, and it can run CW. But most often than not, your ham radio HTs that a lot of you have, they're not CW able. They don't work on CW. Now, you will note that when you are on VHF, UHF repeaters, there's often a tone. That the tones that are in Morse code are the call sign of the repeater. So, yes, they are playing that tone, but all of that's done over FM. That's not the same thing as operating HF on CW using Morse code. So, just want to make sure everybody understands that. It's important clarification. So, you're not actually using VHF, UHF, FM to send Morse code. Right. It's not actually CW mode. Oh, man. Stefan is in Denmark. OZ7STM. Very good. That's kind of a difficult call sign. Da, 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 da. And then a 7 is da, da, did it, dit. No, I'm sorry. Did it, da, da. Right? No. Sorry. Da, da, did it, dit. And then did it, dit, da, da, da. Yeah. Very nice. That's a harder one. Okay. So before we go to Q&A, I want to say big thanks to the patrons. You guys, again, are helping out big time. I appreciate it. The folks that are listed here are a part of the $10 crew, and then, of course, you have the Brew Crew, which, Brew Crew, love you guys. I'm drinking a Pepsi One, but next week we'll get something amazing, because I haven't had a beer in over a month. So, again, big thanks. I know Carrie's in the chat. Carrie's always in the chat. Thank you so much, Carrie. It's one of the longest supporters on Patreon that I have had. So, again, you guys are great. And with that said, also, the first of the month, at least planning on the first of the month, the newsletter goes out for all the patrons, not just the $10 crew. So, okay, with that said, what else do we need to cover? I've got something else. Oh, I did want to mention this. This is called Teletweet. Teletweet. Teletweet makes it incredibly easy to type in tweets without looking at your phone. You can seamlessly type tweets with your one finger on the paddle once you learn Morse code, of course. Teletweet was created as a novelty application to showcase our love for steampunk design while providing a unique Twitter client that encourages you to type in tweets using Morse code. It's an app that will take your Morse code and make a tweet out of it, which is hilarious. I don't know how good it is for learning. Turn your phone into a landscape mode and receive your tweets on a circa 1869 ticker tape machine. Very nice. That's very nice. I thought that was hilarious. I was looking for some kind of like live feed and where it was just people talking CW other than on the radio, like some kind of aggregated source, and then this thing came up, so I was hilarious with that. Since it's going on at the same time, here's a cool little website, parksontheair.com. This is like what's going on right now. This weekend, I believe, is Parks on the Air weekend. At least that was what Zach and I were talking about before the stream started. So, yeah. Okay, so we're going to kick it to the chat room. If there's any questions on CW or just anything for that matter, we can open it up to that now. Otherwise, we'll be heading over to Discord in a little bit here. So if you guys want to head over there, take the link Zach posted, and then I will be over there shortly. JP says, I found that while sending CW, using a gel wrist relief style mouse pad really helps prevent pain after a long session of sending. You're probably right. I'm curious as to whether you're using a straight key or iambic. Because I hear that with straight keys, you're kind of supposed to elevate your hand, so it's not supposed to rest. But yeah. Carl asks, how can you support the channel without having to donate? Oh, yeah. Nobody's obligated to donate. That's just... I just appreciate it and the options there, and it goes back into the channel as far as purchasing this third, my third camera, right? Camera 1, right? That's one camera, my camera, and then the desk camera is currently looking over my pegboard because we're not doing the book, but normally we would have it operating like that. You could just send links that you enjoy to your friends and family or people that, if you're in a prepper group or you're active on different websites and different hobbies. Ham radio is useful for many different hobbies. So I would recommend, if you could, I would appreciate it, maybe copy some links, sharing them around there. That way I would appreciate that. And as always, this is an easy one. Boy, this is easy. Just use my Amazon store. If you buy on Amazon, use the Amazon store. And Tom just mentioned it. Just if you buy things on Amazon, go ahead and use my link. And the link's in the description. And it works really simple. You just, you go to my store, and you use the search bar for whatever you want. And if you're on the Ham Radio Crash Course on Facebook, one of the announcements is from me, and it's just an Amazon link. It's like the Amazon homepage, but it's got my little tag in there, and you just use that. Simple. It doesn't cost you anything more. I do see what people buy, which that may weird you out. I don't look because I don't really care. And it doesn't tell me who bought it. It just says somebody... 10 people bought BFF 8 HPs in the month of May. Whatever. That kind of thing. Yeah. I'll talk about HRO in a second. Any recommendation for keys to look out for? Yes. Okay, yes. Okay, so I will. Surplus keys are very popular. If you can find old military surplus keys, Russian keys, Chinese keys, even American Navy keys, very popular. The better the condition, the better. Key things to keep in mind about keys is that because they're surplus, they were designed to be very heavy duty. They're very robust, and people really like them. People love to collect keys. Now, you're not really gonna find this next brand at many swap meets, and people know what they have when they have one. But keep an eye out for a Bengali. Bengali keys are very well made. Very well made, very nice keys. They're at Dayton. They go to all the Hamvenge and stuff like that. And then Vibroflex, or is it Vibroplex or Vibroflex? Anyway, they're the makers of the Bug. It's a manual keying iambic key, right? It's kind of hard to explain. You really should watch a video on it if you're interested. But so you manually key the dits, but you hold down for the DAW, and the actual key has a spring-operated arm that will copy or tone out the DAWs for you. Those are very expensive, and if you can find one, they're worth a lot of money. So I would definitely recommend that. So the HRO is literally a couple miles down the road from me, so I end up going there a lot. So the reason I went there is I'm not currently a subscriber for Amateur Radio CQ magazine. This is a really good magazine, though. This is possibly better than QTH or what? Not QTH. QRZ, right? QRZ? Whatever the ARRL magazine is. CQ magazine is really good. However, if you follow my Instagram and you saw my story today, somebody told me, and I can't remember who you are, and I can't remember where we talked about this, but they said, hey, there's an interesting article in CQ magazine you should look at. And so I went and I got the magazine. Here it is. Are cheap Chinese radios good for MCOM and the hobby? And he said, read it because there's a lot of points in there that really sound like they came... QST, yes, thank you, I love lasers. That sound like it came directly out of your video, why everybody hates the Baofeng magazines. Or, I'm reading the chat while I'm talking. Why everybody hates the Baofeng radio. So... Let me see if I can find a good one. Those are the cheap sets, plague hobby. So here, I'll just read this part. There are those who think the cheap sets are a plague on the hobby by attracting unlicensed individuals who purchase and illegally transmit, thereby causing interference on the bands. Here we go. Several groups, such as airsofters, preppers, and off-roaders, tend to buy these sets because the cost and transmission range. This becomes an issue when the owners don't become licensed hams and press the PTT switch. To those folks, I say get your license. There are many inexpensive and even free methods to study for the technician license. Unlike many years ago when I got into the hobby, blah, 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 blah. So there are, there's a couple different more quotes in there that I'm not going to say that they kind of came directly from my video because people have been making these arguments about Baofengs for a very long time, so I'm not saying that. I wanted to read it for myself, so I ran down there. Also, Billy Bob, obviously the guy who sold me the 7300, was working that day, and I hadn't talked to him since I put the video out, and he said, yeah, I walked in, and all the people that worked there are like, oh my god, it's you! And they're like, oh man, we love the video. Billy's like, I think I sent that to 100 different people or so. He's like, it's gone up the chain to corporate, all the way up to the owner of HRO or the board on HRO. And that I think they're going to put it on their website. They loved it so much, blah, blah, blah. I think her name's Katie. Katie, who, red-haired gal, she's sometimes on Ham Nation. And she's also on the Tuesday stream by another well-known ham operator that I can't remember his call sign. She was tweeting me about it, all that stuff. They loved it, so that would be cool. Put it on HRO's website. That'd be great. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, anyway, guys, if you can, use the Amazon link. That's the long roundabout way of saying that. DJ Schnibs is in the house. Almost everybody on my local repeater are on Baofengs. All the older dudes love them around. Yeah, so, you know, it's really hit and miss. Baofeng gets a lot of hate. Obviously, I made that video because Baofengs get a lot of hate. And I think sometimes it's deserved. However, I think most of the times it's not deserved. I think when people air the whole, well, it failed the ARRL test, I think that the part that it failed was like the most critical part of the test that a lot of radios fail. And largely the ones that don't fail is because they've got a whole bunch more filters, expensive filters added to the radio. So something to keep in mind. What was the paddle key you held up? Oh, that is the American Morse Company. I will hold it in front of the American Morse Company Porta Paddle. AME Porta Paddle. It's connected to a leg strap, although you don't have to connect it to a leg strap. My thought and my goal is that I will use this for soda and car commute mobile when I'm commuting in my car. Hello, do you recommend a book to learn Morse code or CW? Carlos, yes, I recommend the PDF file that is in the description for the video, Zen and the Art of Radio Telegraphy that I've been talking about. And I also recommend you take those code groups, and you plug them into lcwo.net and you use that. Katie, yes, WY7YL. WY7YL. She's great on Twitter. Like her a lot. She was also all over HRO during Hamvention. If you see any of the videos, she's all over the place. Tom's leaving 7372 for the QRP folks. Take it easy. Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to leave it there. That was about an hour. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully this is the right time for everybody. It's not going too long. Please post your comments below. Please join the Ham Radio Crash Course on Facebook. That would be very helpful because I can only be spread so thin. I get a lot of questions, and the people on the crash course do a great job. Particularly if you get your license upgrade, upgrade your license, whatever. Post it on Ham Radio Crash Course. Love to talk to you there. Join the Discord, which I'm going to right now, so we can continue the conversation for anybody that has any questions. Patreon newsletter's coming out. It's $1 to get on that, and that comes out 5 days. I'm going to get that going. So that's one way to... we're going to be talking about field day, so prepare yourselves. Lots of gear talk. I have 2 big videos coming up. I have a review of my MFJ tuner, the 993B, which is awesome. Spoiler alert. And I have a kind of long video going through all of my soda equipment that I pack when I do soda. What I wear, what I carry, and what's in my pack. So that's going to kick off the June field day month, hopefully. So, okay. I don't Facebook. You don't Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, man. And yeah, and check out the Amazon. Cool. All right. That'll do it, guys. Thank you so much. As always, leave me comments. Send me anything. Email is hoshnasi@gmail.com. All right. Take it easy. I'll see you later.